Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Today we got Derek back on the line, and we're going to be talking about what people are doing wrong today. What mistakes are people making? And they're so easy to do because we all get trapped into being a sales rep instead of really connecting with other people, helping other people, networking with other people, and really kind of putting ourselves in their position and starting a conversation and getting a meeting with these people. And all I hear on every other podcast, on all the YouTube stuff, is how to pitch them, how to personalize your pitch, how to... Oh, God, it just doesn't work anymore because everyone is doing it. You can come up with the perfect pitch. And unless it's at the exact right time, and I heard this yesterday, how much is it finding them at the exact right time? Well, that's nice, but good luck with that because that's like going around trying to find the murderer, going house by house, apartment by apartment, instead of finding out who's most likely to need your stuff. The people who want your stuff are out there searching. They're hitting up your website. And that's a different sale, hard in and of itself. Some people say that's really easy. It's really easy if they've already convinced that they want your product and they want it now, but good luck with that. But we don't have enough of that to make our number. So we're going to dig into this today. Before we start, I want to make sure you're checking out b2brevenue.com. I got a free ebook there, and I talk about how companies make purchase decisions. I hope you're connecting up with me on LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. And I really appreciate the people who follow the podcast page on LinkedIn, the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast page. I put out a couple of funny videos there every day. Keep you entertained. Also, have you checking out Co-Video? Co-Video is going to be making a big announcement shortly, so make sure you're following their company page and also trying out their new Chrome plugin because video is the way to connect with people. We're looking at for new innovative ways of personalizing our message that we become connected to two people. And all these people who say sales can be based down to a science, it's just not true. It's a good 50%, maybe 80% art, because this is what I have with the course. It's not just knowledge. It's applying that knowledge. You can't learn how to ride a bike by watching a video. You can learn the mechanics of it, the physics of it, the motions, but you still have to get on the bike. You still have to have somebody hold that seat, somebody to tell you, okay, you left, right, keep your eyes focused, relax, and that's what you need. Call it what you want, whether it's coaching, feedback, whatever. That's it. Also, Discover.org. You're checking out their website. Great stuff there. And I did a great interview with Chris Orlob from Gong. We talk about all kinds of things. You really want to check that on the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Let's get Derek on the line, and I'll sum it up at the end. Hey, Derek, let's talk about what's going wrong today in sales. I think we've really we're in a rut. I think we went through a couple of waves, went through the email wave, we went through the social wave, and now I think we're hitting it's not GDPR, but it's kind of like the effects of the email wave and the social wave that people are kind of cold and don't really want to be bugged. What do you see going wrong today?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about the advent of sales enablement and how all of these companies have come up with sales enablement. And again, I don't necessarily agree with this, but it was interesting what this individual said. They looked at me. It was a physical conversation we were having, which is rare in this day and age, where we're not over Skype or over the phone or over Twitter or something else. But he looks at me. He goes, Derek, he says, sales enablement is a made up word and it's a made up discipline that all it's supposed to be doing is solving or trying to solve the issue that sales and marketing don't talk to each other. And they don't have a conversation with each other. That's the whole thing. If we could get people to actually do their jobs in marketing and do their jobs in sales, there wouldn't be any need for sales enablement. So I sat there and I was laughing. I was like, oh boy, that's really if you know this individual, he makes these big sweeping statements all the time like this. But then I thought about it, and what's going wrong with sales today? So, back in the old days, you'd have Glenn Ross. It's the leads. The leads are weak. All this other stuff like that. And I've never met a salesperson before that doesn't complain about leads, right? We've all at one point or another complained about that. But the issue, one of the big things that's going wrong in sales is with the advent of the information superhighway, the advent of the internet, the advent of the need for particular content. The content that's coming out of marketing departments and marketing organizations, 80 to 90% of it doesn't get used by the customer, right? There's a lot of stuff coming out there. And I saw this, and again, I'll name names. It's like, I saw this at Xerox. I saw this at Xerox when Xerox delved into the social media foray. They put out the thing where it's like everybody in the organization, and I was in an organization that had 5,000 salespeople. So they said, these 5,000 salespeople, we're going to send out these LinkedIn posts. We're going to send out these tweets, and it's your responsibility to like and retweet them and share them and everything else like that and comment on them and that, because we need this social media traffic. So we did. And I tell you, Xerox would have posts where they'd have 5,000 likes, right? And 150 comments. And they're all us. They're all salespeople. Yeah. And the sad part is the way we were using social media, who the hell were we connected to? We were connected to other salespeople. Yeah. I was on LinkedIn and all my connections were other salespeople so I could get my next job. So we were having this marketing focus to try to push out to the client, and we're having this conversation and we weren't even letting the customer in the room. The customer had no idea that this and so it's like that. So it's like the focus of marketing, the focus of the push. One of the big things that's happening is that the marketing and sales teams are so massively misaligned right now that there has been this big growing need for a way for them to communicate better, because they both have their, and it's just exacerbated over the years. This is something that's kind of evolved. There's always been an issue, but it's just exacerbated over the last 10 or so years. And I think it's really driving a lot of the disconnect, and it's driving a waste of resources, and it's creating a lot of what I call worst, you have best practices. These are worst practices. And you have a lot of these worst practices that are going out there, and it's wreaking havoc on sales teams and sales leadership.
Well, I think it's kind of like the perfect storm, because I don't think it's just marketing. Yeah. I think it's marketing. B2B marketing has changed almost more than B2B sales.
Yes.
And so fast, because they follow the shiny object and they don't get the feedback that the salespeople get. Like when we talk to a client, we know what they care about because they're telling us. When they write a blog post, all they see is downloads, likes, comments, shares, vanity things. They don't see if it really engages and converts ideal customer profiles. So they just shotgun it. And because I talk to marketing people all day, and I talk about, podcasting, and I talk about social media, and I talk about, engaging your audience and making people aware of it. And they don't know. They're lost. They're frustrated. They want something that has accountability, attribution. And I'm like, well, you can't. How do you trace attribution of how you bought a car? Was it an ad that convinced you of the car? It was probably years of stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
It wasn't that ad convinced me to spend $50,000.
Right, exactly. But that's the same ad so again, that's the same thought process that comes with enterprise sales. So it's like they think that, people think that there's going to be this one thing. It's like this one post, this one ad, this one video is going to go ahead and just change the game. And again, it's sales is the reason they call it a sales process is because there's no other word to describe it. It is a process. It is a building block of not only a relationship, but a proof sourcing, the ability to go ahead and get the information you need to figure out what to buy. It is a process. And there are, now don't get me wrong, this, you're a social media guy, likes and comments and retweets and everything else are incredibly important, but it's a beginning. It's not a result unto itself. It's a beginning. It's a catalyst for a continuing process. And I think that going into and using that. So let's say sales. So marketing is all about the like, the comment, the retweet, everything else to get people into the pipeline. I think one of the things going wrong with sales today is, and I think you've talked about it before in the past with your things that are falling out of the funnel and the holes in the funnel and that whole methodology that you go ahead and bring up. I think we kid ourselves sometimes, and I hear myself saying it sometimes too, and I have to correct myself because it's been ingrained in my brain for so long. But I think this idea that pipeline solves all, that getting more things into the top of the funnel will solve everything else, because the numbers game is if you get more things in the top, obviously things are going to go ahead and you're going to get more stuff coming out of the bottom. I think that's one of the things we're doing wrong within sales organizations. I think that we've come to the point where we think that just get enough people in the door, get enough people on the lot, and you'll be able to make your numbers and you'll be able to sell cars. And the issue is that in the real world, when I see that with the reps that I've talked to over the years in the businesses I've been, and I've looked at pipelines, I've looked at the CRM, I see a lot of stuff in 10, 20% status that shouldn't be there.
No.
But they're making, and then I look in the activities and they're making calls and they're sending emails and they're trying to reach out and they're doing this other stuff. And it's like, qualify them out, throw them into a nurture campaign with marketing, let them do that and talk to someone who will talk to you.
Yeah, because the skill that I see missing is that I don't see reps being taught how to build interest. I think they're super good when somebody calls in and is in market. They're convinced they need you or one of your two competitors. I think they're very well taught about that. But how do you get sales and marketing to build interest? Marketing does a great job at build awareness. Get the brand out there, get a bunch of listicles, get a bunch of, people converting. But those people converting are very rarely, interested people in your product. They're interested people in your content.
I think one of the things that hasn't changed and probably has become more of a thing, but it's something that we're doing wrong right now, we're not doing it very well, is that back in the day, it was all about the elevator pitch. If you couldn't say what you were doing in 10 words or less, you didn't know what you were doing, right? That was the whole thing. Well, because most salespeople are coming in to organizations where they have leads coming in, and the first time they talk to someone, they know what company you're from. They know kind of what product. They've identified they have a problem because they've looked at a webinar or they've read your case study or something else. So that first conversation is obviously, it's a warm conversation. It's a conversation the customer is willing to have. There's some identifiable need already. A lot of that is pre-done. So then the rep is like, okay, well, because I know you're interested in widgets because you're here, so let me tell you why my widget is better, right? That's the conversation they're having. The fact is where we're falling down, and I think where the conversation needs to get back to is, how does the rep describe a widget to someone who's never seen it? When I go into sales orgs and I look at the rep and I ask, what is it you do? What is it you guys do? What's your value prop? And they tell me, and they say, well, we solve your storage problems by blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, no, that's not what you do. I'm like, nobody at Xbox or Sony PlayStation says, the value proposition of our gaming console is that when you put a disc in, you can play a game. Nobody says that. It's because it's not the thing that you do. That is not necessarily your value proposition. That's not exactly that's not the enticement for the customer to talk to you. And that is, and I know you probably talk to many more sales orgs and salespeople than I do. I'm interested in your feedback about where that are more people doing that wrong than I even think.
Well, I think people are starting too far down the interest ladder. Meaning, like if you cold call somebody, even if they have the problem that you need, they may not know they have the problem that you solve. Think of all the problems that you have that you're unaware of.
Right.
You may have a disease that won't surface for years, or you may have a genetic predisposition to something. We have to be the 23andMe of their corporation. Right. We've got to say,
right.
People similar to you, over the years, this type of thing kind of surfaces, and you may not feel it yet, but this guy over here started to feel it in his late 40s, and all of a sudden it came on really fast. And you have to kind of build first a relationship, which building a relationship is not asking how your day's going or is this a good time. That is not building a relationship.
Or how did you see the game with your local sports team that the local sports match last evening?
Right. It's that, and I think that skill is so lost because if you look at the seasoned reps, they start off. They put a big smile on their face if they're in person. They comment about something. They know how to do the small talk, and then they know how to gradually move it into the problem and the situation and the problem, and build up interest. And what do? We tell our reps, okay, here's the 3 points that we do, and everybody's like, who cares?
And get the meeting.
Get the meeting. Get the 15 minutes.
Get the 15-minute meeting. Get them to sign on for the meeting. I think that's probably, again, another thing that we're doing wrong is most of these sales processes, I believe, and this is something that I've done at the organizations I've worked at, and this is something I'm doing right now at Parallels, where I'm really I'm talking a lot to customers, and I'm talking a lot to those who will talk to me, the people that we lost as customers or didn't win as customers over the last years. And I'm trying to build a sales training, sales coaching, or a process that's based on win-loss customer interviewing, right? We used to do that, a lot, and then it kind of fell by the wayside. I don't know a lot of orgs that are doing it as far as understanding why do you win everybody has most people have this is the after action report. Why did we lose this deal? And everybody comes into the conference room and everybody's uncomfortable, and sales ops is there and marketing is there and sales is there and customer success is there and the VP of sales is there, and everybody's got stern looks on their faces. And it's like a Klingon torture chamber, right? And it's like everybody walks out bleeding, and it's a horrible process. We have those, and we try to identify why we lost customers. But how often do we sit back and we look at why we won a customer, right? Why did we win this customer? What are the things we did? What's the repeatable process that we could do in order to win the next customer like this? Because we think it's just it's our process, and what we really decide is that when we talk to the customer, we find out that, hey, I kind of made my process halfway through, or I made my decision halfway through the process. Yeah. Oh, really? Really? Well, so the last half of the year or the last half of this process, you were just, I was going through the motions because I had to do this, but we made our decision with you guys, 3 months in. Well, how did that happen? What did we do? What did we say? What was the catalyst for that? And when you identify that, you can build a real process that will go ahead and give you, not necessarily repeat that every time, but create the environment for that outcome to be repeated.
And I think very few people do that. I think there's so much focus on, and it's natural, we're focused on yourself, your company, your product, but we have to be focused on what does our ideal customer profile's life look like? How do they get comped? What are their personal values typically? What turns them on? How do they get rewarded? How do they get punished? All of those things, that's why they buy your product. They're solving a problem or capturing an opportunity. But what is that for them?
Right.
Because like when I talk to marketing people, usually it's they want to build up their portfolio. They want their network and their expertise to be out there, which, doesn't drive leads, but it makes them more valuable. It's like, and when you look at, people's fears and, what keeps them up at night and what bothers them, and talking their language instead of yours. And that's kind of the downside of this. I got to get a meeting. So everyone's going for, if it's not a yes, it's a no. Well, you're already at no. Your job is to get to a yes. Instead of trying to surface the no. The no.
Right. Right. Well, exactly. And see, and this is the thing, and this is the kind of thing that goes back. We've all been through Sandler, right? So it's like, this is the kind of thing that goes back to how things have changed and what we're not doing. People that train on Sandler would look at you being, like being an unpaid consultant to close a deal, trying to identify things in order that, Sandler says, no, don't do that. You can't, you have to paint a picture, you have to do this, but you shouldn't be working as an unpaid consultant and trying to close the deal. It's like, what is it? It's like when Sandler says you want to know the future, bring it back to the present, that type of thing. You're dealing with the here and now. You're not trying to do all this other stuff. Well, the issue is that that's not. That's harder. That's easier said than done. That's easy to say in a training, a training room where the role plays are all really easy and the customer always buys at the end of a role play, right? But it's like in the real world, it's a highly competitive world out there where you have to be able to become a subject matter expert, like you said, with your ICP. You need to know not only what motivates them in business, but motivates them in the world. You have to know. You have to be interested. You have to have some intellectual curiosity about not only the people within that organization, but the reason the decisions are made, the way the decisions are made, and everything else like that. And I have found with the advent of group decision making that I succeed more when I see, because really it's like sales training teaches you need to be the center of the wheel, right? So it's like when you're selling to 5 to 9 people, you need to connect yourself with each one of those people and find out what each one needs and then solve that problem. That's only I really think that's only half the battle. I think that the other half that we're not doing right is we don't understand that Janice in accounting and Phil in HR don't like working with each other, because what Phil wants and what Janet wants are diametrically opposed. And if one gets what they want, the other one, it's a zero-sum game, right? It's mutual. It's like if someone has to win in order for someone to lose. And the issue is as when you're a salesperson, you have to make, especially enterprise, this is like large deals. You don't do this for $10 subscriptions, but it's like you go in there, you have to see, well, Janice and Phil, they both have different motivations. They both have, how can I bridge that gap there? And how can whatever I'm doing make it a win-win for Janice and Phil? And that's a hell of a different skill. And, so it's like it's part psychology, part sociology, part understanding what the motivations are between each of those different profiles, customer profiles, those different individuals. And but humorously enough, they're pretty universal, because if you're selling a widget, and if Janice in AP or HR, or if Janice in accounting and Phil in HR are looking at your product differently, it's pretty good to assume that you go into any organization, the accounting people and the HR people are going to act differently. I used to sell at Xerox. I used to sell accounting process software that would automate invoice processing, right? Invoices coming in, you scan them in, the data entry is done automatically, bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle, you're done. Well, when I would go and sell that, I would be talking to Janice in accounting. Janice in accounting was scared of that product, right? Because that was her job. So it's like, well, you see this machine coming in. It's kind of like John Henry. It's like it's like here I am cutting down all these trees, and here comes this machine that cuts down trees better. How am I going to survive? So understanding that, and understanding how you need to communicate to that particular customer, because Janice is not going to make the decision. Her boss is. Right? So it's like, but I have to understand how Janice and her boss interact and what their motivations are, or else I'm just going to sit there at the end of my process and it's going to be a no, because Janice goes into her boss and goes, this isn't going to work. It's bad. It's this, that, or the other. And then I'm and since he trusts Janice or she trusts Janice, where am I in the process?
Well, that's the difference between the complex sale and the simple sale. I mean, Sandler is for the simple sale.
Yes.
And if you try and apply that to the complex sale, you think you're giving free consulting. What you're really doing is selling.
Right.
And that's why it doesn't work. And I think that's one of the key problems today is that everyone's being taught that the complex sale is a lot like a series of simple sales. But no, it's not. It's very different.
And they're under the fallacy that it's the cost of the solution that is either complex or simple. See, that's the thing I find too, especially with the SaaS model and with the subscription-based model, is that there's this idea by many people within sales leadership, and I would say even in sales, training, the sales training guru world out there, that the cost of the solution, the dollar amount of the solution, is what indicates whether or not it's a complex or it's a simple sale. And really, I have found that the not so much the $10, the one-off $10 subscription, but if you're looking, I mean, there are $20,000 software solutions out there that kind of glom on to accounting systems or CRM systems or something else like that, that there are multiple moving parts. There's multiple people involved in the process. There's multiple stakeholders, that it is a complex sale. It's as complex as a multi-million-dollar deal that you would be doing at Oracle or IBM or somewhere else like that, right? So just because the dollar amount is smaller doesn't necessitate the fact, doesn't make it transactional, and it doesn't equate that way. And then the problem is like we've talked before in the past, that you have the issue with they think it's simple and they think it's the same, so they build a process, they build quotas, they build this whole support process thinking that it's simple, and when things aren't coming out of the end of the funnel, it's the salesperson's fault, let's hire some new ones.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. They think it's simple. They want it to be simple, but it isn't. And you probably saw that with low-cost SaaS. And people think, you can just put on your credit card. Yeah, but then I have to expense it, or then I have to get my manager's approval. And
see, and that's the thing. So here's the okay. I'm going to let a secret out because I was a buyer for years. Here's the big secret for every salesperson out there that is listening to the sound of my voice and the sound of Brian's voice. The big secret that that not a lot of sales trainers or a lot of sales leaders will tell you is that the decision that your decision maker makes, whether it be for the $10 credit card purchase or the $100 million software purchase, within their organization, they are putting their name on that decision.
Yes.
And the reason people go dark, or the reason people stop talking to you, or the reason people don't say no decision, or the reason they go with a competitor, is because it may not be because they have the best decision. It may not be it's the best software, whatever else it is. It usually is. But people make decisions. Buyers make decisions based upon how that's going to make them look within the organization. We used to say in the old days, Brian, and you know this, nobody ever got fired for buying IBM.
Yeah, because people are putting their name on it, and they're not getting a benefit. That's
right. So the issue is, that's easy to think about for $100 million IBM mainframe sale, right? But what about the $10? It's like, okay, you've got to, like, let's look at sales enablement. You got a piece of software that's $10 a piece. It's a subscription model. You've got 10 salespeople. That's $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year. Put it on your credit card, right? It's easy sell. That's what the salesperson, sales trainer, sales leader says, easy sell. Well, how about that sales manager that's working at the Widget Co. in Ottumwa, Iowa, right? They've got 10 salespeople. He's going to put that on his Spark card, right? He's going to put it on a Spark Visa card. And so he puts it on there, and then his boss, the owner of the company, looks at that expense. And then he starts looking at the sales numbers month over month. So, excuse me. Looks at those sales numbers month over month. And it's like, well, why did you make this purchase? It's not affecting the numbers. It's not doing everything else. It's there's and even though it's a $1,200 purchase, it becomes an issue. It becomes a judgment issue. Because I can tell you, as a person who's been a business owner, who's been an equity partner, has been someone who has been part of that process in the very beginning. The way people spend money within an organization is one of the points of that I make in a decision-making process, and whether they stay or go, whether they get promoted, whether they get passed over.
Hey, you can always tell two passionate sales guys talking about what's working and what's not working. I hope you got something out of that, and I hope you enjoyed it. And the key message I get is that we really have to put ourselves in our prospect and customer's place, really think it through. We're blinded by our own need to make quota and crush our number and keep our jobs. And what we overlook is that it's another human being. We got to connect with them as human beings. And to learn more about that, check out the Sales Questions podcast. What I do is I answer a question a day, 5 days a week over there. They're short, concise, right to the point, no fluff. No pitches, no nothing. It's just answering questions, giving someone's perspective. I'm not saying my answer is right. I'm just giving you my opinion, my thoughts, my experience. Do with it as you wish. Also, make sure you're checking out b2brevenue.com. Under there is the training tab right at the top. And if you want to talk over the courses, and you're pretty much convinced, look at the table contents. Make sure you listen to at least 5 podcasts. This is not a career consulting call. This is not a consulting call at all. It's to talk about the course, answer any questions you have, any concerns. If you're just not sure if it's a match, you're not sure how it works, let's get on the phone, work it through. I'll tell you how it works right now. It's really simple. It's basically you get a year access to the content, all the content from day one. You can go through it at your pace. You have two ways of getting live feedback. One is a one-on-one, as a calendar link where you can schedule that. You can do as many of those as you wish, as long as it's like a new topic that's not already in the course. And I put that into the course. That's free. That's included. Also, office hours. Office hours is a way once a week where I basically take all the questions from the previous week, put them into office hours. People ask questions live. So it's live Q&A, and it's a live summary of the questions I've got, clarifications, examples, how other people are doing it. And people are just digging the office hours. So it's pretty much almost another hour per week of content that's compounding every week. So it's about 50 more hours of content, and either how to get meetings and start conversations or how to close the complex sale. Now, just check out the table of contents, see what you think. And if you want to get on the phone, there's a calendar link under the training tab, and we can do that. And people were just digging the one-on-ones. I added that because people were kind of shy during the office hours or couldn't make it at that time frame. I'm trying to keep it consistent on a Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It seems to be the best time for people. That's it. Really appreciate everybody listening. Make sure you're checking out the partner page on the show notes. And check out their website. It's got great content, great blog posts that they're putting out there. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. And I really would appreciate everybody who goes onto LinkedIn, connects up with me, or follows me there. If you happen to see some of my content flying by, if you could throw a little thumbs up or a comment or a share, I definitely appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the podcast. And make sure you're checking out my website, b2brevenue.com. You can get my free book on how companies make product selections. It's a real book. It is on Amazon, but I give it away for free. Just register there. It'll email you a link to it, and you can just download the PDF from there. Also, if you want to check out the courses, start the conversation, get the meeting, or closing the complex sale, and you have more questions about it, the short answer is there are video courses. You get access for a year, but it's also a community. What does that mean? You can ask questions anytime via voicemail or email. I answer them within a week, put them into the course. We have office hours every other week. It's an hour long course where you can basically, I pick a topic, answer questions, you can ask questions. Also, you can schedule one-on-ones for free, and we just talk through your particular use case, and that gets shared with the course. So if you don't have time for office hours or the timing doesn't work, or you just want some more one-on-one help, that's all included for a whole year. So it's really a year to go from where you are to where you want to be. And so it's not just videos. It's not just knowledge. It's practice. It's getting feedback. You can send me emails. You can send me your presentation. I'll help you with anything that you need to close the complex sale or get the meeting. And you can check out them at b2brevenue.com. So that's it. I really appreciate it. And please tell somebody about the podcast and let me know if I can help you in any way. Oh, and you want to hear some results from the course? Well, here you go.
You know, I love the approach. It's working for me just fantastic. If I sent you some of the emails, which I should, the conversations that I'm having with people, I think you'd be blown away because they're not really about work. Yeah. I've figured out if you can kind of get personal with them, like one lady, it's all about her family, kids. And then I sprinkled in a little bit around work, and she's LinkedIn, sending me messages on LinkedIn, photos of her family. No, I'm not even kidding. I should show this to you. You'd be stunned. I was shocked. And we're going to lunch on September 6th. And yesterday she shot me a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, Ron, why don't we get on the phone and do a video call beforehand so our lunch isn't so awkward? We're like barely not meeting each other for the first time." Oh, holy cow, right? Like, this is unbelievable. So this is not the first time that this has happened. She's kind of an extreme, but I'm starting to figure out a pattern where I can actually make this a process, you know? So
good. Yeah.
I'll show you that. So it's getting to that point. And every time I do this, I'm like, God, this is unbelievable, you know? So,
and it feels better too, doesn't it?
Oh, Brian, let me tell you something. To be able to go to lunch with her, I'll even talk to her on the phone, right? We're going to talk about family, kids, work-life harmony, because I shared a thing with her from Bezos about work-life harmony. This is where the conversation will start. Now, at some point, we're both not stupid, right? We know we're going to talk about work. We know why we're both there. Right. But to kick it off this way is so much better. And to end that lunch with the last 5 to 8 minutes of telling, well, what are you guys doing with digital